Good morning. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are a community of youth, adults, and children held together by covenant, not creed. A group of atheists, theists, and agnostics sharing together the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Roger Upham. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box before the opening hymn or add it to the meditation bowl. Please gain consent before you use someone's full name. The meditation bowl is in the Soul Work Center, along with some activities to help people of all ages to engage with today's service. We hope you'll join us after the service for our social hour. Find a small group on Zoom or in the Emerson alcove at the end of the hall. Otherwise, the social hall is a place for informal conversation, cookies, and information about upcoming events. Our edition of solar panels has officially started. A structural review of the sanctuary roof confirmed that solar panels can be added without any issues. We made an initial down payment and construction, and we will begin making a second payment on delivery of the panels. Construction might start by the end of the summer. Help pay for the solar addition by offsetting your carbon emissions from any of your summer travels. Learn more and calculate your contribution on the church's website. We have the delightful privilege today of having Reverend Jill Schwendeman as our guest preacher today. She is an affiliated minister here at WBUUC as well as a former staff member, as she's currently serving as a hospice chaplain. We are so glad to have you here this morning. A big thank to our guest musician, Stephen Wallach, for your lovely contributions to this service. Thank you for sharing your music with us today. You can find Stephen's music wherever you find music or on his website, stephenwallachmusic.com. Thanks also to Karen and Tilly Hogan for leading our hymns today. We now have a special announcement from our lead minister search committee, Dana.
Hi, my name is Dana Boyle, and I use the pronouns she, her. I am a former member of the lead minister search committee, and we're very excited for kind of the final step, which is to welcome Reverend Jessica. She'll start here on August 1st. That's coming right up. And our first big chance to welcome her as a community will be in Gathering Sunday, or what we know as the Water Communion, which is the second Sunday in September. In the meantime, she's really going to work hard to get to know as many of us as possible, and the easiest way for her to do that is to look at the Breeze directory, get to know our names, and also associate our images with our names. And while almost everybody here has a Breeze account, thank you for that, only about half the people in our church, and that includes members and friends, have their own photo. So we're going on a campaign starting today. And a few of us will be in the atrium taking your photo. We promise to make you look good. And then those will be uploaded into the directory. So please see me and anyone else with an iPad or a camera or a phone out in the atrium just after the service. Thank you.
Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place. I'm Reverend Jack, and my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Owen Dom. I use he, him pronouns. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to college this fall. With the beginning of this journey comes a lot of unknowns and worry. How am I going to make friends? What will my classwork look like? How will living away from home look like? Will I like my roommates? Will my roommates be okay with my 9:30 bedtime? Stuff like that. This kind of thing kept me up at night for weeks after I graduated from high school. While at a pool party, I was hanging out with one of my friends from high school, and the topic of college arose. I opened up to him about all my worries about the transition, and what do you know? We were both worried about the same thing. Crazy, I know. After this conversation, I felt significantly less worried. Still worried, but significantly less. I opened up to my friend and was listened to deeply and respectfully. My friend opened up to me, and I listened to him deeply and respectfully. Afterwards, we both felt less worried about leaving for college. By sharing and being vulnerable, we both felt seen and understood. We felt less alone. Today, we light the chalice for the change that occurs when we are witnessed deeply and respectfully.
Please join me in our unison opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn is number 10, Immortal Love, in the gray hardcover hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit.
Good morning. My name is Amy and my pronouns are she, her. I'd like to invite anyone, especially children or youth, who would like to come forward to help me tell the story this morning to come on up. So as you're making your way forward, this morning's story is hopefully a familiar one to you all by now. Our program for children and youth, you can take a seat right there. Our program for children and youth over the summer is grounded in what we sort of have developed as sort of our canon of stories, stories that we tell over and over again to help us with our practice of deepening our faith as Unitarian Universalists. And this morning's story is adapted from two different sources, from Sarah Conover, tellings from Sarah Conover and Elisa Permain. And it's a story called The Broommaster. And the reason I need your help this morning and your help this morning, and this may sound familiar to you, is it repeats the phrase, sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt. And as I repeat this phrase, I'm going to invite you all to repeat that phrase with me. And if you need to move your body as well, you can do that too. Can we practice it? Are you ready? All right. Sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt. Great. So let's take a breath. And let's listen to the Broommaster. Chunda and his brother Raj lived in a small village. Above all else, Chunda admired his older brother, Raj, who at the age of 16 was a bright and brilliant scholar and preparing to move to the city to study Buddhism at the monastery. Chunda wanted more than anything to accompany his brother, but he knew that part of the work would include reading and memorizing and reciting the lessons of Buddhism. Now, this worried Chunda a little bit because though he had a kind and generous heart, he was not a very skilled reader, and he worried he wouldn't be able to memorize any of the lessons. Well, Raj knew that there was much more to Buddhism than reading and reciting text, so he encouraged Chunda to come along, even if it was just to earn his keep at the monastery by working. Chunda was persuaded, and off the two brothers went to the city, Raj to study Buddhism and Chunda to work. After a while, Raj noticed that Chunda became sad, for it was Chunda's greatest wish to join Raj in his studies. One day, Raj sent Chunda to the wise master of the monastery, to the Buddha. The kind man sat in silence until finally the Buddha asked, Chunda, you are a hard worker, are you not? Yes, sir, replied Chunda. You do all that you do with all of your heart and soul? Yes, replied Chunda once more. The Buddha continued, Chunda, I would like to give you a special job. I want you to sweep the temple every day. Can you do that? Oh, yes, said Chunda, jumping with delight. This is something I can do very well. Well then, Chunda, I will give you the job of sweeping the temple. This is all you must do, but as you sweep the floors, you must speak these lines to yourself over and over again. Sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt. Can you remember that? Sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt, Chunda repeated. Yes, teacher, I think I can remember that. He said it over and over, and each time he said it, the words were easier and easier to remember. And the more he said it, the more at peace he began to feel. Sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt. Sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt. One day, Chunda stopped, and the Buddha came upon him. Chunda, share your thoughts, said the teacher. Master, you are very wise, and this task that you gave me was very simple, to sweep away the dust and the dirt in the temple. But I wonder if there was another lesson that you meant me to learn. Well, the Buddha smiled and nodded, of course. Yes, Chunda, what is it that you have learned? Chunda replied, dust and dirt cover what is beautiful and clear. And when I say these words, sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt, I feel at peace. So while I'm sweeping away the outer dust and dirt in the temple, I'm also sweeping away the inner dust and dirt. The Buddha nodded once more. Tell me, Chunda, what is inner dust and dirt? Well, Chunda had to think about this for a little while, but eventually replied, I believe that inner dust and dirt is a grasping. If we don't like something in our lives, we grasp for a different situation. But if we do like something we have, we also grasp because we don't want it to change. Chunda continued, to look at life clearly, we must always see through this. We must sweep away the dust and sweep away the dirt to keep our inner temple clean. Sweep away the dust, sweep away the dirt. As the years passed, Chunda was able to share his wisdom with the other monks, and stories of his teaching spread throughout the city, and students would come from far and wide to hear the simple, profound wisdom of Chunda, the broom master. Thank you for helping me tell the story this morning. We're going to sing our children, youth, and facilitators on their way to their class this morning. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing number 1057, Go Lift It Up.
This congregation is sustained by the generosity of the people who call this place home. By giving this morning to this morning's offering, you are giving life to the programs and services that make this community special. In addition to putting a contribution in the collection basket in a moment, you can also donate on the WBUUC webpage, send a check or leave a check in the lockbox out in front of the office, or use the text to give option in your service or in the Zoom chat box. Thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we live together.
Let's pause for a moment of meditation and prayer. Gathered as we are together here, about 120 people in the room and 54 households on Zoom. Sometimes it feels hard to name out loud what we need and what we hope for. But in this space and in this moment, that hardness can soften. We all come together with a specific combination of joys and sorrows, needs and celebrations. This time is like every other time, full of complexity and ambiguity. Whatever it is that we are grieving today, may we find a sense of reprieve. Whatever it is that we are celebrating today, may we find co-creators and companions for that celebration. We take a few breaths together so that we can feel the ways that our connections are formed and our stories are interwoven. Breathing in as we listen, breathing out as we connect. Today we are holding in light and in love Barbara Warren and her husband Ron Crum as he discontinues cancer treatments amidst declining health. He begins palliative care soon. Prayers of support and care are welcome. Someone whose cousin's friend is a family member of the police officer killed in Fargo recently. Prayers of support and comfort. Please send love and support to my friend Liz Foreman and her sisters who lost their mom Louise Pardee yesterday. Louise was a member here at WBUUC. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. For our children and our youth, let us hold our covenant with them to guide and help them with grace and honor. For Terry, who is recovering from a 15-hour surgery to remove cancer, and for her wife, Bonnie. For Elle, still learning to live with the loss of her beloved Papa. Prayers for all the anger in the world. May we learn to love in spite of ourselves. And prayers for my sister Robbie as her death nears. And if you are holding the names of people in your life who need prayer or support, feel free to name them out loud into this space. May it be so. Amen. The reading today is a poem by Jane Hirschfield called The Door. A note waterfalls steadily through us, just below hearing, or this early light streaming through dusty glass. What enters like that, unstoppable gift. And yet there is also the other, the breath space held between any call and its answer. In the querying first scuff of footstep, the wood owls repeating, the two-counting heart. A little Sabbath, minnow whose brightness silvers past time. The rest note, unwritten, hinged between worlds, that precedes change and allows it.
Good morning. I'm Jill Schwendeman, she, her, hers. I'm so glad to be here with you. I was thinking what a miracle it is that we're gathered here in freedom and in love and toward our highest aspirations. What an amazing, wonderful thing. Last week, someone chalked a message on a path I walk. Take heart, it said. I was happy to read it because so much right now is disheartening, isn't it? My heart quakes several times a day, as I'm sure yours does also. We're traumatized right now. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by violence and threats to our democracy, to civility, to civil and human rights, and to the safety in every sense of that word, of people and values we hold so dear. Of course, we'll do the work of organizing, resisting, protesting, creating culture change, but always that work must begin with the heart, mustn't it? We mourn, we rage, we pray, we sit in silence. We sit together and hear one another's stories, and we begin to take heart. For 3.5 years now, it's been my honor to be a hospice chaplain. Today, I want to talk about just one piece of that, but it's something that I think is also key in bringing out positive change in ourselves, in one person at a time. It relates to the human heart and to the transformative power of being heard in safety and love. Thank you, Owen, for your wonderful chalice lighting. This is the power of being companioned through good times as well as those times where one is bewildered or suffering or just plain scared. As a chaplain, sometimes I feel as though a patient I'm working with is traveling a long, hard road. The air is dusty, the traveling is hot. My job, metaphorically, is to walk, sometimes not metaphorically, is to walk alongside and carry the water and a sunshade to bring some relief. But mostly, my job is to be curious and to listen closely. I mean, listen not with my ears, but with my whole self. As the person talks, it may happen that they take out a key, metaphorically, and open a door in their heart. We step inside and suddenly we are in a completely different place, like a cool green garden. It's shady and there's running water and a place to sit. We do sit and the person tells me more about this place inside them. The garden is an image of their memories, their dreams, their visions, their future, or a reality beyond fear, beyond themselves. This is not necessarily religious in nature, although it can be, but it is spiritual in the sense that the person is in some way, even a tiny way, refreshed by what they see in that garden, what they hope for even now in this bitter time toward life's end, what they're proud of, what they believe, their sense of being a part of a tradition or a family or a community or something bigger than they are. As sick as they are, sick unto death, the person in their garden knows there is a place in them where, to use Julian of Norwich's words, all will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of things will be well. Perhaps you've been with someone nearing death or going through something very hard, and they've shared with you this kind of glowing thing in them. It can happen non-verbally too, even on the very day a person dies, whether it's a dream or the spirit getting ready, or delirium from physical changes or medications, or faith. The experience can be transcendent. Some people seem happy as they look around the room. They're talking to people, loved ones, who have died. You can only think they're peaceful, right? They feel safe, they're companioned by someone out there, by someone in here. 2 different patients have said to me now, "Isn't it beautiful?" I'm so happy for them. Now, each of our gardens is unique. Not everyone visits theirs or remembers where they put that key, or that they have a key, or that they have a garden, but every one of us is blessed with a space inside, or even just the hope of a space inside, aren't we? Where we can feel safe and calm and sure. Now, maybe the garden metaphor is a bit much for you. Let's just say that when a person is closely companioned, when their mind and spirit feel free and not judged, they can find their way to talk about things on their heart: life and death, loves and tragedies, failures, fears, certainties, and unanswerable questions. They may find that although they are sick and even dying, an essential part of them is well and whole. This is hospice chaplaincy. The heart is a gateway to a new understanding of ourselves and one's place in relation to all living creatures, to those that have passed, and to truths that are eternal and are unique for each of us. Finding our way to our inner garden takes patience, time, feeling safe, and being witnessed lovingly by someone there to hear you and how you see things. Humans exist only in relationship. We need each other. Companioning one another is sacred work, and any of us can do it. I know many of you are doing it. Listening well is a spiritual practice. Let me change tone here a little bit and bring us to a story that I just love, and one you know well, about how important it was, this particular time when hearts and minds were changed by being heard well, okay? In 2011, a bill was passed on the ballot to amend Minnesota's Constitution. It proposed to define marriage as between one man and one woman, straight. This is a preemptive attempt to block the path to gay marriage, of course. Campaigns for similar amendments had been successful in 30 states across the country. In 2012, though, Minnesota was the first state to stop one. The 31st state was the first to stop it. A year later, in fact, the momentum built by the campaign to defeat this amendment led to gay marriage being enshrined as law here in Minnesota. To recall how that happened, I'm indebted to a wonderful summary on NPR, a reporting piece called 18 Months to History. I recommend it. 2 organizations, Outfront Minnesota and Project 15, were behind Minnesotans United for All Families, the campaign which built a wide coalition of local and national advocates, faith groups, business, unions, nonprofits, and other sectors. There was representation across all political parties. The strategy would not be about the head, using language of rights and equality and ethics, but about the heart, life experience, values, and relationships. The campaign employed what it called its secret weapon, and that was personal conversations, one-on-one, in small groups, or by phone. Volunteers were trained to ask questions. Have you ever been married? What are your feelings about marriage? The strategy was to listen with kindness and to identify what we have in common rather than how we are different. It didn't listen for a binary yes or no about how someone planned to vote, but for movement of the human heart. Volunteers noted on a scale from, I think, 1 to 5, did the person move from a firm no to a I don't think so? And then they might get another call. What are they thinking about? What matters to them? I'm proud to say so many from our congregation played a role, several as leaders. Raise your hand if you made a call or wrote a letter or, yes, served in some way. Incredible. I'm so proud of our congregation. This is what faith is to me. A committee started a paper chain here, just like the one up there, the chains that children make. Members and friends added a single chain for each conversation they had. Isn't that neat? As you can imagine or remember, our foyer and the doorways and this lovely sanctuary were festooned with long, colorful chains. Once I was trained in, I was really nervous when I found out I was assigned to make calls to a county I knew to be very conservative. I procrastinated a bit, and with clammy hands, I finally got started. I got hung up on, yes, I did, I got hung up on. But some people allowed me in, and in a way that just amazed me. One woman I talked to was in her mid-80s. She said she'd be voting for the amendment. Okay, I said, thank you so much for telling me. May I ask you some other questions? When she said yes, I asked about her marriage. Yes, I was married for 60 years. My husband, Bill, is gone now. Oh, I'm so sorry, I said. I wish he was here, she said. He would know what to do. I know I should vote for the gays, but I just can't. Her husband had been raised pretty conservative as she had, but he was a fair man, and she had seen him change his minds with, for instance, the Civil Rights Bill. She wished she could talk to him now. When I asked if she knew anyone who was gay, she said yes, she had a niece. No one in the family talked about it, including the niece, but everyone knew, and everyone loved her anyway. I did very little talking. She shared several stories. I couldn't believe that I had been afraid and clammy-handed to place this call. And here an 80-some-year-old woman, a stranger, was talking to me about her love and her family, her heart's devastation, her complicated feelings. It was humbling. What power! 36 years ago, in the last millennium, I was an intern pastor at a Lutheran church. I'm no longer a Lutheran, in Illinois. I encouraged the senior pastor to think about using inclusive language, moving beyond he and talking about God and humans. It was a big deal, and so we had listening sessions, sermons, office hours. An elder in the congregation, whom I respected greatly, sent a book on my wrong ideas. And I could see he was angry, stiff with anger. I asked if he'd be willing to talk, and we agreed to meet at his house. Now, I grew up in a conflict-averse society and household. I drove slowly to his house, wondering what the heck I'd gotten myself into. You're hearing a theme here, right? Those sweaty palms. My stomach was in knots as I finally rang the doorbell. He let me in, and we stood there awkwardly, smiling. I decided honesty was best. You know, I was so nervous. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to be at odds with you. I actually drove around the block 2 times before I had the nerves to drive up to your house and park. His body softened, and suddenly he was all motion. Oh, no, come in, he said graciously. He signaled for me to sit. He said, would you like something to drink? Some coffee? Cookies? Sit down. Are you comfortable? Do you need a pillow? Suddenly we were smiling at one another. It went well. He spoke about his beliefs, about his church, and why he thought this change was a bad idea. I shared what it was like for me to grow up female, always interpreting myself into texts, like a footnote into my faith and the worship life of my church. I've forgotten the details, but I do know that afterwards there was a warmth between us that was new. Seeing me at church, he joked once, "Hey, maybe we should go for a drive around the block. We could solve world peace." Yeah, we were changed by courage and by conversation, by admitting what was on our heart. Now, companioning is transformative, but sometimes it does take courage. Being well, taking care of ourselves, attending to our feelings is crucial. I have been in privileged roles as a pastoral intern with him, as a chaplain elsewhere. I was privileged in making those calls in other ways, too. As an educated, middle-class white woman, probably not as many people hung up on me as if I had a different presentation, right? All of this granted me access, opportunity, and respect. Certainly safety, in every sense of that word, is a concern depending on one's status, race, gender expression, ethnicity, and other identities. Those of us who are within historically privileged groups, though, we are asked to put ourselves out there and to listen more than talk to the lived experiences of those who are targets of racism, transphobia, homophobia, ableism, ageism, classism, ethnic bias, or other forms of violence, and there are more. Within our sphere of safety, we can ask, am I willing to be uncomfortable for what's good? Our faith needs us to be uncomfortable at times, to foster understanding, peace, and human connection that liberates. My friends, as we seek the wholeness and health of ourselves, of our society, and the dignity and opportunity for all of our society's citizens, I can think of no better place to start than the human heart. In our reading today, The Door, poet Jane Hirschfield reminds us of the beauty we experience when we wait with quiet attention, just paying attention to what's below hearing, she said. The breath space held between any call and its answer. A little Sabbath, a respite, you called it. Minnow, whose brightness silvers past time. What's transcendent? The rest note unwritten, hinged between words, that precedes change and allows it. Now, not quite 3.5 decades after that angst-filled double drive around the block, I again hesitated before reaching out to someone in my care. This time I made it to the driveway. And I sat there looking. Now this story is a composite with some changes to protect privacy, but this happened to me many times, actually, many times. My colleagues had warned me that this would be a difficult visit. I saw those angry political signs. I took a few mindful breaths to keep calm body and spirit. And I stepped toward that doorbell. Doorbells, I don't know. Complicated relationship. I'll call my patient Fred. His body language was stiff. He did not make eye contact. He started with long and loud complaint about churches, which can't be trusted, and false prophets, and why are there women ministers? I see, I said, as I listened. Oh, okay. Oh. I was nodding to let him know I heard him. Most of his answers to my questions were short and angry, but when I asked about his young years, he told me about a tragedy that had befallen him. I sat quietly a moment. I took a deep breath. Fred, I said, I'm so very sorry that happened to you. What a terrible, terrible thing. And you know what? For the first time, it was quiet. Fred looked over at me and made eye contact, and he said, thank you. How did you get through that? I asked. Did anyone help you? He told me he had a friend for about a year, a kind ally, but then they lost touch. It was heartbreaking. His tone, his expressions, his body language softened as he went on about his childhood. At one point, though, the conversation turned to politics, and suddenly, boom, he was angrily yelling again about politics, politicians, and conspiracies, and he had several. It went on a while. Well, I said, Fred, you know what? I'm not here to decide all that. Thank God, thank God. My job is here to find out how you're doing in here. What is all this like to you? I pointed to the catheter bag and the medications and the nausea bag. Is there anything helping you? Is there any time during the day that you feel good? And you know what? Instantly, he relaxed. And he said, there's a squirrel that comes outside my window. You wouldn't believe it. And you can't believe how many birds come to this. My caregiver hung this feeder out here and see the flowers underneath. It's incredible. And the light comes through this window. It's really neat. And he actually smiled. And again, there was a softening of everything. Now, it's not uncommon that old sorrows and traumas arise as a person faces their mortality. Folks will weep about things that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. The loss of a sibling, their mother and father, a baby, a home. New grief always is layered on old grief. If old traumas arise, kind witnessing and skilled guidance may help the person find peace. I walked that path with Fred. There was no miracle in Fred's room, but he did receive my compassionate attention and respect. He volunteered more memories, what his dad was like. There were some good things in there among all the terrible. He was proud of a fish he caught, and his friend saw that and celebrated with him. He identified things that made him happy, his cat, a song. He even, this part was a miracle, he sent a note to an estranged son. He did break into tirades. I didn't try to convert him from his extremist beliefs. It wasn't my job and it wouldn't have worked. But I do think Fred felt heard. I hope he felt cared for. And you'll notice he talked about windows and flowers and birds. This is the stuff of gardens, a real garden. And we spent time getting to know the garden inside him. He gave me some glimpses. I hope we can practice listening well, my friends, each of us. It's hard, and it's simple. Paradoxical. Listen a while. In the breath space held between any call and its answer, hold a while, a little Sabbath. Observe a while that minnow whose brightness silvers past time. Wait a while on the rest note, unwritten, hinged between worlds that precedes change and allows it. I hope all of us can pay close attention and be attended to. Keep a keen eye out for hidden gardens and help clear the door if you see it's overgrown or lost. The world can change for good right before our eyes if only we will be closely and fully present to one another. Have heart, my friends, have heart. I was thinking it's probably a Unitarian that wrote that on the sidewalk, so if it's one of you, you can admit that later. Would you please rise in body or spirit and sing with me, all of us, the closing hymn, Blessed Spirit of My Life. The words are up here, and it's Singing the Living Tradition, the green hymnal, number 86. Thank you.
Please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us. Go in peace.
This is a new one, so if I mess it up, I apologize. I got thrown away. We're going to try it.